Hey folks, it's Sam, and I'm doing yet another one of these updates on this Venus-Jupiter exchange. I call it the Love Bomb, part 3. This one is. And I say this because these two planets are exchanging and bringing this both tension and expansion and strengthening of what they share, and also a conflict around what they disagree upon. And what I wanted to tell you in this video for sure is I've been doing a lot of these readings, these love bomb readings, where I talk about this for each person. And I have quite a few stories to share about common themes in these readings that I've been doing. I've also been doing, I just started a course on the Navamsha code, unlocking next level agreements, which is also really what this Venus-Jupiter exchange is also bringing into our life, is this opportunity to elevate our agreements and our agreement style into something very transcendent. And a lot of that is seen in the Navamsha chart. And again, I'm going deeper into the Navamsha chart, not just about relationships, but about the karma, the deeper karma that comes through in our life. And so again, that's what I'm going to be talking about here. And as you see, please subscribe, ring the bell, get notified if this is something that you like. Make sure to leave a positive comment. That also really helps. And leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, and share and whatnot. As it says here, this exalted Venus exchanging with Jupiter, Guru's grace, and the truth revealed. I will tell you that a lot of the readings that I've been doing, as I said, I've been doing these, it's just a 15-minute deep dive into your chart and how these shifts are happening. You'll see a link below the video. And one of the biggest themes that I've seen is relationships, of course, which is the Venus principle, and the desire to be appreciated and to connect, in contrast to like children or complicated situations that are happening in people's lives. Like, for example, someone has a new relationship or a new attraction, and there's them and their husband have been not getting along as well, but the fact that they want to be together for the kids means, so should I do this, or we share this thing together? Or maybe even there's a split family, and one situation, a person was half going back and forth between two partners. One was the father of the kids, but another one was a new relationship, but the love of the kids kept bringing them back into a relationship with the father again. So this is the kind of tension that you often see. Or there will be a situation, just literally, even as I explained before, where we have a relationship where, let's say, we don't feel so appreciated, we don't feel so heard or understood, but yet there are kids. And so you're not going to just leave the person or get a divorce or something, because the kids are related to Jupiter. And I'm going to explain why and what's the next level of this kind of scenario. And again, I've been doing a lot of these in the readings. These are some very common scenarios that I've been seeing in these 15-minute readings, things like this. It's especially important to understand the Jupiter connection here. And again, Jupiter is very prominent because Venus is in Jupiter's sign. Of course, Jupiter is also in Venus's sign. But understand that Jupiter is the indicator, of course, of children, but also of gurus and teaching and dharma and purpose. And in many ways, those things will overcome, or will the relationship happiness and joy. Children and gurus will always trump relationships and desires in the worldly sense, because the Venus aspect of life, particularly if it's just for wanting to enjoy a relationship with each other, is not as elevated as children but especially as gurus and teachers. And this is the connection also between children being our greatest guru and being our greatest teacher. Because ultimately, it's not just that we learn from them in some kind of abstract way, but the very thing that we learn is exactly what I'm talking about here as well. Because if it wasn't for something like children, when the relationship got difficult, we would just leave, because why would I keep doing this? We barely get along, or I don't feel appreciated. I don't like this. Isn't fulfilling my Venus desire. So I don't want to do it anymore. But it's not worth it. There's no purpose to it. And that's what Jupiter is. Jupiter is the purpose, the sense of meaning and purpose. And what needs to happen is when the couple finds a common purpose beyond just children, then they can survive. So again, this is also very important in marriages and in relationships where you see people come together even because they want to have kids, they want to have a family, they want to have children, they want to raise them together. But then at a certain age of the kids, we wonder if, do we still need to be together for the kids or not? At some point, we don't really need to be together for the children anymore. They're old enough. We don't need to, they're not little babies. But again, actually, it is one of those things where single parent families can often be harder than when the parents stay together. But I would also say that what's most important is how the parents treat each other. I came from a broken family, and the part that was hard wasn't necessarily that the parents weren't together anymore. The problem was how one of the parents treated the other and treated the kids. So there are plenty of families where they separate because they're not in alignment anymore, and that Jupiter is the alignment. So again, we can usually, when people come together and have kids, it's because that's a common thing they want to do together. They want to get married and have a family. Boom, that's a Jupiter thing. It's not a Venus thing. A Venus thing is let's have fun with each other. Literally, even let's date, have fun, have sex, enjoy each other's company. But that person might not be, but we can have that kind of fling and that flirty fun and also know that this isn't the person I'm going to marry because we're in transition or whatever. And then we move on. That person we're moving on to is the Jupiter thing, because we need to find that common purpose together. Usually the common purpose is let's get married, have a family, have kids. Boom, that's the Jupiter thing. But then after a while, our principles aren't the same. We don't have the same beliefs. We don't, and again, when we don't have the shared purpose and the same beliefs together, then the Jupiter is where we're going to clash. That's where we see the clash. You believe this, I believe that, and then we just clash over it. So again, a lot of these readings that I'm doing, this is the tension that I'm seeing. And so whatever houses as well that these signs of Pisces and Taurus fall, this is where we have tension right now. But the higher promise, and one of the things I'm telling everyone who gets the readings is that, again, I see where it's interrupting this aspect of your life, and for you it's also happening in your 10th house or your 12th house or your 8th house or whatever it might be. I can see where it's showing this disruption in this aspect of your life. But the higher meaning and purpose is to cultivate this devotion to something higher, to something more meaningful, this transcendent God, love, beauty, wisdom thing, which is the highest nature of Jupiter and Venus, what they share together. That's what they share together, because they're both gurus. They're the two teachers, the two gurus. Venus teaches us how to get along with each other, make good agreements that we feel good about. And Jupiter is where we connect with higher meaning and purpose beyond just this world. And so again, it's also where we elevate our desire just to be happy for ourselves into something, again, transcendent, like our devotion to God. Not just our devotion to our kids. We have devotion to our kids, it's biological. And we're like, yes, I'm devoted to my kids. But then they're not devoted to anything else. In fact, even when people want to try to succeed in their career, and they're like, what's my purpose, which is a Jupiter problem, then they want me to tell them their purpose. I'll say, your purpose is what you love. You didn't ask when you were raising your kids, you knew what your purpose was because you love the kids. You didn't ask me, how do I raise my kids? How do I find meaning and purpose in my kids? You don't have to ask an astrologer that because you already know that. There's love, but it's biological. But then the kids grow up and now what's my meaning and purpose? Now what am I living for? Now what's giving me hope? So the same has to come, again, even in a relationship, for sure. Because again, a relationship will have hope. It's not just about kids. Many people come together around their spiritual teachers and stuff too. In fact, ultimately, if a relationship is going to sustain beyond just kids or something like that, giving them hope, there has to be some kind of common philosophy and principles together that the couple shares. Because eventually our life becomes about Jupiter themes, not Venus themes. And if we're going to have relationships, particularly later in life or after we've had kids or gotten married or whatever, those relationships are going to succeed because there's still that Jupiter principle. And there's a sense of purpose and direction. There's a higher reason for getting together other than just trying to make each other happy, because that only lasts for so long. That Venus thing has a shelf life. So elevating and transforming those desires into that devotion is the great purpose now with the Venus-Jupiter exchange. And I'm seeing it play out as I'm doing these readings. I'm seeing it play out along these very classical lines. Like I've always explained, I'm like, here it is. People will write me a note and the note says exactly this. And I'm like, I guess you saw my video where I was talking about, again, Venus is our desires that we want for ourselves. And it's Pisces where we're trying to dissolve and have to look at our own desires and ego and what we want. And again, what happens is because we love our kids more than we love our desires, we're getting stretched and pushed in those different directions. Maybe it's not your kids. Maybe like for me, I don't have kids. Maybe it's like work or my contribution or other things that I want to create that bring great beauty and joy. I love that more than I love being respected or whatever it might be. I want to contribute that beautiful thing, whether I look good or don't look good or whatever. That's not the important point. And this Venus in Pisces is trying to dissolve all of that ego structure around, but I need to feel appreciated, but I need to feel good. Again, that's very much around the ego part, but people will surrender that in order to do what's right for their kids or eventually do what's right for God and teachings. And this is what Jupiter Venus is also really doing. It's reworking that whole matrix for the next several months. And Jupiter's in Taurus trying to bring it down into existence, into practical steps. Because the other thing that I see that's really tied up in this, because again, it's that Jupiter in Taurus and Venus in Pisces. Pisces is the most abstract and Taurus is the most concrete. So it's like people, this sort of juxtaposition of the most abstract, conceptual, devotional thing and the most concrete thing, like money. But I need the money from the partnership. And again, you see the conflict comes around where, but the marriage and the relationship also gives me this money, so I can't just leave. So I have to stay there and work and be humbled and surrender and let go of feeling appreciated, but I'm upset or whatever. And again, I'm not saying we want to do this. But we all have space to grow around the whole concept of Venus and feeling appreciated. Again, not like we shouldn't feel appreciated, but what our standard is. Again, we feel unappreciated, but we don't see how much we don't appreciate others or how much we disrespect others as well. And a lot of it is that too. I have to remind people often of, all you're noticing are problems. All you're noticing is the difficulty. Would you appreciate what you have also? Instead of just, oh, I have this, but oh, when is this going to end? It's like, some of this is great stuff. And because it's not just perfect, because you have to deal with life as well, so this appreciation and then elevating it beyond just how we feel about everything into a higher dimension. So again, a very fascinating cycle that's going to continue. And as you see in this chart, Saturn, Mercury, and the Sun are in Aquarius. They're about to go into Pisces. So we're about to have eclipses here in Pisces and all kinds of stuff. So there's more changes ahead, more dissolving, elevating, devoting things ahead. As it says, meaning, devotion beyond desires. And again, if you did want to get the 15-minute reading, there's a link here below. And also, I would really encourage people, if you want to learn more about this, get my Navamsha course, navamshacourse.com. Already have done a few free classes. It's called the Navamsha Code, and that is really what it's about, because I've taught a lot on relationship astrology over the years, but I haven't really taught on the Navamsha chart. I've also taught on harmonic charts, but this is dedicated just to the Navamsha chart as being able to unlock next level agreements, because that's also what we're talking about here with this Venus-Jupiter exchange, unlocking these next level agreements with other people. Next level, like, okay, you're just seeing what you want. There's a next level. And this hook and these desires and things like the teacher, the children, and the gurus, they're a catalyst for unlocking your next level. Again, it's very easy to talk about Venus as exalted in Pisces and surrender, letting go, and it sounds so whimsical, but this is what surrender and letting go feels like. Surrender and letting go of your ego and your desires and your attachment to, but I just want to be happy all the time. Can I always feel good all the time with everything? Is that too much to ask? Like, we're so in it. This is what surrender means. That's what surrendering is. That's why it's hard to surrender. That's what you need to surrender in order to unlock the higher dimensions of consciousness. That's how the ego works. It's not surrendering the bad stuff. It's surrendering the good stuff, the things that you like. That's the hardest thing, because all of it is, the ego gets entwined around all of it. Now, again, it doesn't mean you have to surrender the good things that you like in a bad way. What I'm saying, though, is the attachment. When you surrender the attachment and you let go of a lot of the expectation, then it's all just nectar. It's all just joy. Again, I use the example of, like, with my guru and stuff. These are great examples because that's where there's so much devotion, right? I don't want anything from her. So she can't make me mad or upset me, or no matter what, because I don't want anything. She doesn't have to be nice to me. In fact, I'm not going to say she isn't, but she doesn't pay any attention to me. And actually, it's been very funny. It's been quite humorous to me over the years. My guru largely ignores me. I could be right in her face and she won't even look at me a lot of the time. And again, that might sound cold, but what do I care? It has nothing to do with that. That's not the point of it, right? My point is to get something from her. I've already... Anyway, so this kind of elevation of energy is really what's happening now with the Venus-Jupiter. And so unlocking next level agreements, that's really what this Navamsha Code course can really also help you with. If that's something that you think, you can check it out. There's some free classes and a lot of good information that I've already done. You can check out the link here as well. But aside from that, I hope this Love Bomb Part 3 was helpful and that you got something out of it. For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.